Hey everybody! Well, today we're going to take a look at a really cool, interesting prop replica that I managed to get my hands on. Now this is a replica of something called a Kurlan Naiskos. Now we first see this prop show up in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, and it was from Season 6, and it was called The Chase. And it's one of my favorite episodes, so it explains why the aliens... And this is the person that I got it from, Yeoman Models. Let's see, where am I in camera here? So Yeoman Models. And I found this on Etsy. So in that episode, it explains why the aliens all look similar to each other. The Romulans, Klingons, Cardassians, and the humans. Okay, sorry for the jump cut there. There was some information in the box that I had to cut out. So anyway, it explains in the episode why all the aliens look similar to humans, and it's a really great episode. Now, okay, so this is going to be pretty cool. So I got this. The seller is in the UK, and there it is right there. Okay, let me see if I can grip this. Well, you know what? Let me get it out of this bubble wrap because I'm not sure exactly how all of this is wrapped, but it's packed very nicely. Okay, so there was quite a bit of tape on here that I had to kind of fight with. So I'm kind of trying to get a better grip of getting this off now. This is very nicely packed. I think the seller's name is Nathan. And I don't know how many of these he's made or how many... Oh, wow, look at that. Ooh. Wow, that looks like... Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, this is already blowing my mind here. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Wow, that looks just like it. Let's see if I can get it out of here. It's not that heavy. And oh, it looks like it's covered on the inside. Oh wow, I hate to reveal the inside already. It looks like it's made of like a resin material. Oh, look at how awesome that looks. It looks like it's clay, just like in the episode. I'll show you some clips from the episode, too, so that we can understand more what this was for those of you who may not have seen the episode. Okay, so I've got the whole thing completely out here. As I was saying, this is not very heavy. In fact, it looks very similar to what the material would have been for the actual prop. I've seen a lot of these props in person, the originals, and you'd be amazed how they don't necessarily feel the way you think they're going to. Like this, you think would be made of like a terracotta material and be really heavy, but it's surprisingly light. We'll get a better look at everything here after I show you the clips. These are the little pieces that go inside, and I'll let Picard explain what these are in the scene, but there should be, I think, 12 of these. Ooh, look at these! Oh my gosh. Wow, these are the individual ones. Oh, these look so good. Let me see if I can get closer. We'll get a closer look at all of this here, but look at that. I mean, they're painted beautifully. They look like they're made of like a terracotta or a clay. And they're all going to be hand painted, so they're all going to look slightly different on their paint. Wow. Oh, that is so cool. So cool. I'm so impressed with this. So, yeah, let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 here and 6 there. So there should be a dozen of these. Ah, I love it. Okay, so let's take a look at some clips, and then I'll get this all set up so we can get a good close look at all of it. So at the beginning of the episode, Riker calls Picard into his ready room, and it's dark. And when he walks in, there he sees the Kurlan Naiskos sitting on the table. So it turns out that Picard's old professor of archaeology came to visit him and is going to give him the Kurlan Naiskos. Now the actor playing the Professor Galen here is Norman Lloyd, and he's a really great actor, and he lived to be 106. 106, that is amazing. I believe he is the oldest actor, like the longest lived actor in history, possibly. I think his career spanned almost 100 years. That's incredible. So here we get a good look at it, and Picard's inspecting it, trying to figure out which dynasty it comes from. So you can see about the size of it compared to his hands. Now, I always loved Picard's interest in archaeology and artifacts, and here he discusses some more information about this piece.
The Master Tarquin Hill designed ceramic objects that were 300 years ahead of their time. All we know of him is the work. His name was never discovered. This object is over 12,000 years old.
I love when the professor tells him to open it, because it's very rare to have a complete Kurlan Naiskos. And his reaction. And here he explains the significance of the figures on the inside.
The Kurlan civilization believed that an individual was a community of individuals. Inside us are many voices, each with its own desires, its own style, its own view of the world. The Kurlan civilization died out thousands of years ago. It is extraordinarily rare to find a figurine intact.
Later on, we get another nice view of it here, where Picard's having his breakfast, and you can see that he's probably been checking this thing out pretty thoroughly. Now, the professor wants Captain Picard to go with him on what he is calling the most incredible find, maybe of all time. He wants Picard to go with him, being one of his prize students, but unfortunately Picard's got his responsibilities as captain of the Enterprise, so he unfortunately has to decline the offer. So the professor is very disappointed that Picard won't go with him, so he goes off on his shuttle alone, only to be attacked by the Iridians. And here they're firing upon his ship. When they get the professor back on board the Enterprise, he ended up taking a direct hit from a disruptor, and unfortunately Dr. Crusher can't save his life. So it turns out the Iridians were trying to download some information out of the professor's computer, and thus begins the puzzle, the mystery of why everybody is after this information. So now they're trying to retrace the professor's steps to find out what these numbers mean and what the codes mean, and when they go to this other planet, somebody had destroyed the planet, as we can see here. So somebody got the information they needed from it and then destroyed the evidence. So Dr. Crusher and Picard find out that there's been DNA scattered all through the galaxy from many different species, and Professor Galen was onto something using those numbers. And here we can see that she extrapolates the information, and then they find out that by putting things together like this, it creates some kind of a map. So now they're all trying to discuss this algorithm and trying to figure out why this whole thing occurred.
So, 4 billion years ago, someone scattered this genetic material into the primordial soup of at least 19 different planets across the galaxy.
The genetic information must have been incorporated into the earliest life forms on these planets and then passed down through each generation.
Whatever information this program contains could be the most profound discovery of our time.
So as they try to follow Professor Galen's tracks and go to the different planets that he visited where he was trying to get different DNA fragments, we find that the Cardassians are also looking for the same thing. And then all of a sudden the Klingons appear, and now the mystery deepens because now there's 3 different people trying to figure out what this puzzle is. So they decide to all come together because they know that they're all after the same thing, but each one has a different piece of the puzzle. So they decide they're going to try to work together and put the puzzle pieces together to find out what location they need to go to next. So when they put all their pieces together, it creates this big algorithm, but they're still missing a small section of it.
Jigsaw puzzle, whose pieces are scattered across the galaxy. Doesn't it make it natural to assume that the original designers of the puzzle should want us to find it? Why else would they have put the pieces in our DNA?
Later on, Geordi discovers that somebody's been messing with their defense systems, so they're on to somebody doing some kind of sabotage. So they use the computer to figure out where the next location is that they need to go to get the missing DNA fragment. And it's like in the Ramazad sector or something like that. And that's where they need to go. And then, of course, the Cardassians, the sneaky Cardassians, beam out and then start attacking the ship so that it can disable the Klingons and the Enterprise. Thankfully, because Geordi discovered that security breach, they realized that the Cardassians were up to no good and made it look like they were damaged, but unfortunately the Klingons weren't as prepared, so the captain of the Klingon vessel goes along for the ride. After sending the Cardassians to the wrong planet, They all end up meeting down here at the planet when the Cardassians catch up, but to everybody's surprise, on the right you'll see that the Romulans have been tagging along the whole time, probably cloaked, and now they're involved in this whole mystery as well. So now while everybody is arguing amongst each other, Dr. Crusher takes a sample in the wall because some of the remaining DNA that they need is inside the soil. So then Picard scans it, and it activates the tricorder's projector. And when it projects the image, it turns out it's this being. Now this being from long ago discusses why they did this. Why did they put the DNA all over the galaxy? And here you can hear her explanation.
Well, you are the end result. The seed codes also contain this message, which was scattered in fragments on many different worlds. It was our hope that you would have to come together in fellowship and companionship to hear this message. And if you can see and hear me, our hope has been fulfilled.
It's a pretty moving speech at the end.
It was our wish that you too would know life and would keep alive our memory. There is something of us in each of you, and so something of you in each other.
So in the end, we find out that the Klingons, humans, Cardassians, and Romulans are actually kind of related to each other. They all have a linked DNA amongst all of them, which explains why aliens have 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head, something that fans always kind of, would say to the writers, hey, how come all the aliens still look so human? Well, of course, it's because you had to have human actors playing these aliens with makeup, but the writers came up with this story to kind of explain it in universe, which I thought was pretty clever. But unfortunately, the Cardassians and Klingons argue that the idea of them being related in any way is repugnant. Now, the ending is really cool because Picard and Dr. Crusher were discussing how the message was powerful but unfortunately fell on deaf ears. But to Picard's surprise, there is one species that kind of got the message.
It would seem that we are not completely dissimilar after all, in our hopes or in our fears.
Yes.
That's really cool. So at least the Romulans got it. At the end of the episode, Picard looks at another piece from the Kurlan Naiskos and realizes that just like the Kurlans, within one are many, and it's kind of the message to the whole thing. It's such a cool episode. Now, in the movie Star Trek Generations, at the very end of the movie, after the Enterprise got destroyed in that amazing saucer crash scene, we see Picard and Riker on the bridge in Picard's ready room, and he's trying to find this book that he always had in his ready room. But now you'll notice here, Picard picks up the top of the Kurlan Naiskos, and he kind of tosses it to the side right here.
Is this it?
Right there. See how he just see how he just kind of threw it down a little bit? I thought that is supposed to be a super rare artifact, and then he just kind of plops it down like that. It's pretty funny. And even in Picard Season 3, the very first episode, we see the Kurlan Naiskos sitting on Picard's table right here. It's really cool that they have that kind of continuity. And we even get to see Picard's flute for a little bit, and then the tapestry that's on the back of his chair that he got from the Mintakans from the Who Watches the Watchers episode. Very cool awareness of continuity for these shows. So let's look back at this awesome, wonderful piece. This is so cool. After going through that episode again, it's really awesome to look at this thing. So it looks just like it. It's kind of an unusual looking thing. I always thought it kind of looked like a duck, like this is the bill and the eyes or something. But Picard was talking about some of the coloring on it, and the eyes are closed. That's how he identified it to be from the 3rd dynasty. And you can see all the details on here, and it looks just like it. Now, I don't know if this was somehow molded from the original piece. I'm not really sure because it looks very accurate. All the contours, lines, this little kind of piece right here, that little design going on, and then the spine back here. It looks so cool the way they painted this. I'm just kind of looking at the way they did it. It looks like there was just layers of paint. The actual piece here, it looks like there's some light blue or gray underneath here, and then the terracotta red, and then this tan color with maybe different shades of tan. And then it looks like he might have just taken some sandpaper and just sanded down the details so that you got some wear on here, and then also the paint that's underneath the main tan color starts to pop out. That's, I think, how that was done. It's very cool. And when we look at the little figures on the inside, they have kind of a similar thing. So now, just like in the show, you can open this upper half right here, and there it is. There are all the figures in there. Oh man, those look so, so amazing. Alright, so let me get some close-ups so we can check out all the details of these. Alright, so we'll start with the head. See all that wonderful coloring and detail? There's the eyes right there. The texturing on this is just awesome. This is so, so cool. Now, I have to say, a gentleman that I knew was making these, and it was a while ago. Maybe it was about a year ago. I'm not sure it was quite that long. And I didn't get in on the run, and I kicked myself for not getting in on that run. I don't know why I didn't, because I knew I wanted one of these. And then right after he made however many he made. I think he didn't make that many. I think maybe 6 to 8 of them for different people. The mold that he was using just deteriorated. So unfortunately, that mold was no good. And so I don't know if he's ever going to make any more of those. But in the meantime, I was very fortunate to find this on Etsy. Look at this detail. It's just amazing. So let me take the lid off real quick here. Let me switch hands. And we'll just kind of grip this. And we'll take this off. All right, and there are the figures on the inside. So let's take a look at those guys. So here's all the little guys inside here. You can see how they all look. Now I'm assuming these are all made from the same mold because they look exactly alike, but you'll notice that the paint jobs are each unique to each one since they are hand done. And so just like the other ones, you can see how it's probably starts with the paint color of gray, and then the orangish color on there, and then the tan. And then just by sanding the high spots, it brings out the colors that are underneath and gives it that nice worn kind of look to it. It's very cool. Here on the bottom you can see how that one looks. So each one is different, like I say. Like here, see how there's a little more orange on that one? And then this one here, see how there's a little bit less? So they're all very cool. So I can't imagine having to make something like this because it looks like a lot of work and a lot of attention to detail. So when you put them in here, you got to leave a little bit of a gap here all the way around, because when you put the lid on, it needs this gap for that lid to fit in because the lid's pretty thick. But see all this detail? I mean, it looks so cool. It looks exactly like the actual prop. It's very, very neat. Oh man, I love this thing so much. Here we can see the inside of the lid. So it goes in there pretty far. And it's thick. It's a nice thick-walled piece. So yeah, I don't know. I was looking at the description. It says it's made of plastic and resin. I don't know if it's a mixture of the two materials or what. But it's very interesting. It just feels interesting. It has an interesting smell to it too, probably from the paint. But it smells almost like it's made of terracotta or stone. You know how it kind of gets that certain smell if it's been wet or something? Look how deep it goes on inside there. So yeah, that's how thick those walls are. And that's why you need to put some space for those guys to go on the inside. But yeah, it's a very nice piece. So there we go, a very accurate replica of the Kurlan Naiskos seen in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Chase from Season 6. One of my favorite episodes. I absolutely love that episode because it is kind of one of those treasure hunt type of things where I love the mystery of it, and also everybody's after the MacGuffin in the show. I've always liked TV shows and movies like that. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World is one of my favorite all-time movies because everybody's chasing after the money, the big W. It's a classic movie with amazing amount of a veritable who's who of famous people in that movie. But this is kind of similar, where all these people are after the one thing, and so beautifully made. I'll put a link in the description for the seller for this piece. I found him on Etsy, And he also has his own website. Here, I'll show you the card again. This is it. So Yeoman Models. And he's got his website right there, yeomanmodels.com. But I found him on Etsy. Now, when I bought this piece, it was the last one he had available. But I'm sure if you hit him up, he'll probably make another one for you. Looks like it's a pretty labor-intensive piece to make, so it might take him a little while. But it's definitely worth it. I love the more obscure props from Star Trek. You know, there's so many of the regular ones that you see everywhere. But this was kind of a really rare piece. When my friend made it, before I found this, that was the first time I've ever seen any of these made. So this is really cool. I don't know what happened to the original prop. I'm guessing it was sold at Christie's auction, I'm guessing, and whoever owns it, I hope they're taking very good care of it. It'd be interesting to see the original piece, but I don't know if this was molded off the original. It almost looks like it was, because it's very accurate. Alright, well that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I very much appreciate it. And until the next time, I'll see you on the next video. So thank you again, and have a good one.